Okie dokie.
Weird to be in here, Debs.
I know. Am I allowed to talk about it?
You are allowed to talk about it.
I'm going to celebrate with a swallow of my tea. Are we all good to go?
We are good to go. We've got somebody watching, so let's get going.
Cheers, everybody. Well, welcome to our Friday live stream. Now, this is really exciting for us today because we're in our new studio. So I don't know if you can see, I have a completely different background to what I usually have. So yeah, and the sound is probably, hopefully, slightly clearer for you. So thank you so much for joining us today on our Friday live stream. We're all a bit excited here today because this is our new baby, isn't it, Laura?
Absolutely.
So for those of you who haven't watched us before and joined us before, my name is Debbie. I tend to be on this side of the camera, and my colleague, who you'll hear but probably not see if she has her way, is Laura.
Hi there.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We are celebrating English flowers today. So yeah, what better way on a nice bright sunny day, she says, standing in a jacket and cold, than celebrating our English flowers. So English flowers that we use, she says, picking up feathers, but these are all our English elements that we're using in the arrangement today. So we've got pheasant feathers, English moss. Now this is actually sourced under license from Thetford Forest, and it's really nice moss, actually, I have to say. And because the distance that it travels to us is very, very short, it's lovely and fresh and springy and nice, really. We've also got some absolutely scrummy delphiniums here. I actually managed to call them delphiniums today rather than the faux pas I made the other week when I called them hydrangeas. These are our delphiniums, English grown. We have also some Lisianthus here, that's English grown. It's really pretty, actually, really heavy heads, yeah. And lastly, but by no means least, on our English selection or British selection, are our little sunflowers. Now these are actually quite tiny sunflowers, which is perfect if you're doing something like a buttonhole for a wedding rather than using the really ginormous ones that you can get. So that's our English selection. Now, sourced elsewhere, we have a selection of foliage. So we have the Thlaspi green bell. This is a really interesting foliage. Well, we call it a foliage, but it's actually got little seed heads on. I find that a really useful item when you're doing this style of arrangement where you don't have oasis or anything, because it can actually act as almost like a frame to then thread the other flowers through. So if you're a novice and you're doing arrangements, say jam jar or vase arrangements, using a piece of that is a really useful tool because you can then thread everything else in and around it. So that's our Thlaspi green bell. I've also got a mixed bunch of asparagus here. So you can actually buy on our website the mixed bunches. You get a selection within there. So you get, what have we got? Asparagus sporangi, asparagus plumosus. Yeah, we've got a really nice wide, asparagus falcatus. So yeah, you've got quite a nice mix there. And last but by no means least, the beargrass. So, just to show you what I'm using, I've started off with a lovely birch wooden slice, which we're going to base the arrangement on. And then I've got 2 glass cylinders, one slightly smaller than the other. And what I've done is I've placed moss in between the 2 cylinder vases. So you've still got the vase in the centre that I'm going to fill with water and do the arrangement in. So that it gives the container a little bit of interest. You've got that little collar, I guess you'd call it, of moss in between the 2 vases. So I'm just going to quickly finish putting some moss in between those 2 vases to carry on, and I'm going to top it up with water, and hopefully Laura will give some shout outs of people that are watching.
So we've got some lovely ladies watching. We've got Cherie and Carolyn. We've got Chris from the Philippines. He's back with us today. It's lovely to see you again, Chris.
Welcome back.
So make yourselves known. We've got some lovely viewers. We've got 25 viewers. So make yourself known. I'll do you a shout out.
Excellent. And let us know what you guys are up to this weekend. Tell us what events you've got planned, what arrangements you're creating. And also don't forget to ask any questions that you might have about the arrangement we're doing today, or indeed about any of the flowers.
Absolutely.
And we'll do our absolute best to answer them as soon as we can for you.
We've got Marsha. She says afternoon, ladies.
Afternoon. Nice to have you join us. So just popping the last bits of moss in here.
So just to be, I get very frustrated at the moss. So one thing to be aware of is make sure you do it on a suitable surface if you do create this, just because it does create a bit of a mess, and you wouldn't want that on a nice coffee table or something, or wherever you're doing the arrangement. So make sure.
I'm just going to show you exactly what Laura means. As you can see, it does create a bit of a mess.
One thing I hate.
It's one of Laura's pet hates.
But it's okay, it's okay.
I'm just going to quickly wipe that down while she's not watching. Righty-ho, so back to where we were. So we've got the lovely wooden slice with our two cylindrical vases, one tucked inside the other. Is that sort of fairly central like that? Yep. And then the moss in between. So it looks like you've got almost like a moss container that you're using. Sorry about that, I didn't mean to clank quite so loudly as that. And I'm just going to top that central vase up with water. So as you can see, no oasis used on this occasion. So we're very eco-friendly on this one.
Foam free.
Foam free. Foam free. So I'm going to start with the Thlaspi green bell. And as I was saying, makes a really, really good frame. So starting off with that. So our viewers are very quiet today, Laura.
They are.
No question.
They're concentrating, that's what we like to say.
Yeah, like to think as well.
Sure. We've got Kathleen and we've got June joined us.
Hello, ladies. Yeah, we've got no comments on the new background so far. For those of you who've only just joined us, we're very excited here at Triangle today because we're testing out our new studio. So yeah.
One thing I will say, Seb, can we put the arrangements aside?
Yeah, you can't see me.
I know.
Thought I'd got away. Thought I'd got away with that. Obviously not. There we go. Can you see me now? Do you want me to move over a little bit more? Shunting over as we speak. There we go. All right. Thought I'd got away with that. So you can see how we just started off with that little frame of the Thlaspi green bell. I've been working with Tanacetum this morning, so brain's still in Tanacetum mode. Okay, so something like this would be appropriate for possibly a festival wedding style, or perhaps a reception area, especially somewhere that wants to promote the sort of organic and eco-friendly sort of feel. I'm just going to pop the asparagus in. Our viewers are very quiet today.
We have a question from Carolyn.
Yep.
She asked, please can you ask Debbie if you could demonstrate how to hang a wreath on an easel. We could do that in the future, can we, Deb?
Yeah, absolutely. A wreath on an easel. Yeah, no problem. We can do that. We were actually just talking about an easel earlier on, weren't we, Laura?
Yeah.
Because occasionally I know it's very difficult to believe, but occasionally I run out of things to say.
You never.
Exactly. So Laura occasionally has a little board for me just to jog my memory on what I'm supposed to be talking about. And we did speak earlier about having an easel. That might be a good idea. So yeah, we can certainly sort that out for you, no problem.
We've got lovely Jenny here from New York.
Wow, New York, how lovely. Oh, what's the weather like with you, Jenny?
It's nice out here, isn't it, to be fair?
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
This weekend is supposed to be amazing. Well, in Europe, but...
Yeah, it's not quite so warm here at the moment, as you can see by the jackets.
Yeah, we're constantly in a warehouse here, so it's
Yeah.
very different to the story outside, I suppose.
Definitely, we disappear into the fridge at regular intervals, so
Yeah, we're
our
a
temperature.
different breed, I suppose.
Okay, so just popping those, so you can see how that build up of greenery started. I don't think I need any more of that, and I'll pop my Beargrass in last. So now I'm going to start off by putting my Delphinium in. Just going to break off those broken blooms, cut at an angle. Now, the usual consensus of opinion is that you cut a stem at an angle to pop into Oasis. The only time when really you break that rule is when you have a hollow stem. So as you can appreciate, that point is actually quite weak. So if it's a hollow stem and you're putting into Oasis, I would recommend cutting straight across, so that surface area is much greater and you have a little bit more force to push into the Oasis. As it's just going into water on this occasion, I'm going to cut at an angle like you would normally. Pop that in to my arrangement. I'm just going to remove some of the lower leaves. It is a little bit difficult to see, to be fair, where your water level is once you've got the moss around the container. It's a bit tricky to know how many leaves you need to remove from the bottom. These Delphiniums are beautiful, lovely, lovely pale colour. Now, excuse me a second. What you will find with the English flowers is they're not always graded in quite so perfect way that the Dutch are. So you'll find, for example, you get some quite chunky stems and some a little bit thinner. You get some that are a little bit further developed than others. But that's what makes them so lovely. You get that unique mix.
Charm, haven't
They really have, yeah. So, cutting as we go. I'll spin this round in a minute so you can see where I've got up to. So I do feel like I keep disappearing. Our viewers are very quiet today. Very quiet. Yeah, let us know what you're doing this weekend and what flowers you're creating and for what special events. Get that in there. I'm just going to spin that round slightly so you can see how the arrangement's starting to take shape. Oops. And just cutting a few more stems.
So we have got Julie doing a sponsored walk in London for kidney research, just over 7 miles, so good luck for that, Julie.
Oh,
well.
Well done, Julie. Yeah, hats off to you. Yeah, these charities unfortunately don't get an awful lot of sponsorship from the government, sadly, funds and what have you, so yeah, people like Julie raising money for good causes, very admirable. So I hope you enjoy it, have fun. Hope it's not too hot for you. Take lots of water.
Absolutely.
So this is going to be my last Delphinium that I'm popping in here. If I can find it. You can see what a lovely frame that the Thlaspi's made, because I can't get the stem in now. Here you go. There we are. Okay, I'm just going to move my rubbish out of the way. There we go. And now adding some of the really lovely Lisianthus. You might, when you look on our website, you might see it as Eustoma, but Eustoma or Lisianthus, one and the same. Just adding some of that into.
So with the English Lisianthus as well, it does actually come in a mixed bunch. So you might find that you get some purples, some pinks, but they're equally as lovely as the white that we've shown you here.
And just so that you're aware, you can see...
Oh, there's a cream as well.
Yeah, so, and you can also see that the grading is not quite so...
Pristine, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Not quite so perfect as the way the Dutch guys grade theirs. As I say, like you said, Laura, that adds to the charm. Swing this round again. Just as I said, just removing all the lower leaves that are going into the water. You can actually feel the stems hitting the base of the vase as we pop them in. I think I just need one more, really. Pop that to one side. The leaves are really lush on these as well, really lush.
Oh, we've also got Jenny, who's doing some flower arrangements for a graduation party.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, of course, it's graduation time now, isn't it?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Oh, so all of those really proud parents and family members out there, enjoy, because it's a fantastic, fantastic time of celebration. All right, so I'm just going to pop in my sunflowers just to give a little pop of colour.
I think that colour scheme works really lovely, doesn't it? That pastel with the whites.
Blues and whites, yeah. Got a bit of a thing going on at the moment with blues and lilacs, haven't we?
They just work well.
They do. Yeah, they do. And blues and yellows actually are opposite in the colour wheel, so opposite colours in the colour wheel, so they actually complement each other perfectly. Another useless bit of information.
No, always good, Debs. Although those sunflowers are tight, they will open up, won't they?
Oh, yeah, they will, yeah. And we have the added addition there of a little bit of bindweed. That shows how authentic they are. There we go. Yeah,
we've got Keith watching from sunny Northern Ireland. Nice to hear from
very
Keith
nice too. Sunny Northern Ireland, that's lovely. Unfortunately, my Irish experience with weather has always been pretty rainy. Same with Wales, to be fair. But there you go. It doesn't take away from the charm of the place, I have to say. Oops, in you go. There we go. So that's our 5 little sunflowers that have been added. As you can see, that's given it a little bit of a pop of colour and emphasised the sort of summer feel, really. Just getting rid of some of those dirty bits.
Okay,
Now, just to add a little bit of interest, we have these rather funky pheasant feathers. Now, pheasant feathers are really, really popular at the moment, especially for bohemian style weddings, and just give such lovely texture. And the colours are amazing. And these are sourced in the UK as well. So.
Surprised you're working with them, Debs, knowing that you don't like birds.
Yeah, I have a bit of a phobia of birds, unfortunately. And my esteemed colleagues decided it was a really good idea to befriend a robin a few years ago here. Do you remember that? Yeah, so I had a little robin flying past me in the office. Don't get me wrong, I love birds, but as long as they're a distance away from me, I don't have to get in too close a contact with them. Feathers are fine, they don't flap.
We've got a question from Cherie who asks, could you give me any ideas for teacher gifts, flower gifts? As I suppose it's coming up to that time of year when kids are breaking
teachers.
up as well.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah. You got any ideas for Cherie?
Well, in my opinion, fresh flowers are always the perfect gift because it's not something you tend to buy yourself. So perhaps just a little tiny gift bag, a little small mini hand-tied of flowers in there, some sort of, I'd say probably classic traditional summer flowers, so that you've got a little bag that she can then carry home with her. I think that would be perfect.
Or just a bunch of flowers really. You could just do like 10 stems of sunflowers or something easy for you.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
absolutely.
anything like that really.
And as I say, flowers don't tend to be something you tend to buy for yourself.
No.
So it's always such a treat. And as I always say, there's no calories in them, no alcohol in them. So
can't go wrong.
They speak for themselves. Absolutely.
Unless you've got hay fever, I suppose. But
yeah, there is that, I guess.
Yeah.
Then I suppose you could stick to the slightly less antagonistic flowers, ones that don't have quite so much pollen and things like that. Probably avoid grasses and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm just doing little tiny bunches of beargrass here, just feeling where the edge of the container is so I can pop those in. Once again, just to add a little bit of movement. Thread that in nicely. And I'm just trimming the ends of the stems off of the beargrass. So you can see when it comes in, the ends are always a little bit mucky. So just cut those, just like you would condition any other foliage or flower. Try and find the edge of that vase again. Here we go. We're in. Try not to poke myself up the nose. And just spin that round. Again, just trimming a few of the ends off. And tucking those in down the side, if I can find it. Yep, there it is. As I say, that is the only disadvantage of completely covering your vase, because you can't see where the water level is or where the actual edge of the container is. That one a bit more. Another couple of bits, I think, and I think we're nearly there.
We've got a question from Linda. She said, where would you put these flowers if you didn't have a hallway or a suitable hearth?
Oh, hearth maybe?
Hearth, sorry.
Yeah, like a fireplace, yeah. Well, what about, I mean, I don't know how many people watching have got like patios and gazebos and things like that, but you could put something like this in the centre of a table outside if you've got a barbecue and you've got friends coming over for dinner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Work really well.
You could almost scale it down a bit, Linda, so you didn't have to, it didn't have to be such a huge size as such, and then you could put it in the centre of a table or outside for a summer party.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And what you could also do, if you are putting something like this outside for a barbecue or a party, you always put little tea lights around the outside, so when it does start to get dark, you can still see the arrangement nicely. So, there we have it. I will just clear up around because I think I've got quite a lot of debris hanging around here today. Let's get rid of that rubbish. I do have a box, by the way, behind me for the rubbish. I'm not just chucking it on the floor. So there we have it, our celebration of English flowers. Really rustic, really natural looking. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching today, and we look forward to welcoming you back for many, many more live streams, inspirational videos and educational videos in our new studio. So have a wonderful weekend. I hope the weather is good for you all. Don't forget to share us with your friends and like us, and keep those questions coming. All right, until we see you next week, thanks for watching. Bye.